Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about death battle ideas that I like. Since I did death battle ideas I hate, I wanted to do the opposite, and since the last one was mostly rage bait, this one is 100% serious. These are ideas that I actually do like. So now sit back and enjoy the videos and see what ideas I like for a change. First up, we have Miles Morales versus Delsin Rowe. Strictly Insomniac Miles versus Delsin Rowe. I know the thumbnail doesn't say that, but I'm just gonna use the thumbnail anyway for this. Comic Miles is fine, but I just like the sounding of Insomniac Miles over comic. I just like it better. I don't have a specific reason. I just feel like if you use the video game versions, it's a lot more debatable and a lot closer than just comic Miles. Since comic Miles right now would slam the shit out of Delsin Rowe if they fought. So overall, I feel like the games would be so much more fun and to be a lot closer of an actual fight if it happens. Next up, we have Spiritomb versus Hex. I kind of just overall think this idea is kind of unique. And overall, the fact it brings back Skylanders, and again, it's another Pokemon matchup, which Pokemon matchups are always just nice to have, they're just kind of unique. And this one uses a very specific Pokemon, being Spiritomb, one of my all-time favorite ghost types. So overall, I think it would work as an overall matchup as a whole. And PSCS, I did make this matchup, so this one is more biasy. And also the fact that Spiritomb doesn't really have any good matchups. He has Ermac, which in my opinion, Ermac's a terrible matchup. But overall, I think Hex works better, in my opinion. Next up, we have Scorpion versus Talion. This is better than Talion versus Geralt, which overall, I think Geralt's okay. And this is way better than Scorpion versus Sekiro. These two have so much in common with each other. You could tell a phenomenal story with these two if you were to ever do this fight. Oh, the fact is that, like, Talion has a lot of cool-ass abilities that you could show off in this fight. And it would be such a cool soundtrack. The death could be really interesting. Overall, this fight is just cool. And I'm surprised a lot of people are not interested in this fight. Because these two work on so many different levels. It is, like, insane. And about how similar these two are with their stories, with their character arcs. And overall, the ending of their stories, depending on certain MK routes, but that's beside the point. Overall, this matchup works really well. Next up, we have Makoto versus Tifa Lockhart. Do I really need to say more? This fight is just... obviously, we know why. It's because they're both two strong female tomboys who are honestly fans' favorite female characters within their respective franchises. Like, almost everybody I've talked about Persona 5 loves Makoto, as I do myself. She's awesome. Overall, there's a lot you can do with this fight, especially with their different abilities they have. You could also have them race on motorcycles. The only thing I want to know is, like, how are they going to give Makoto access to, like, her stronger forms of her personas via the social links? Since they allowed Joker to use their social links, so couldn't Makoto also get access to hers? But either way, Tifa gets curb stomped into oblivion. And that's kind of sad, but Makoto wins, so I really can't complain on that one. Also, I felt the soundtrack would be cool. And also, more Persona love is always welcome in Death Battle. I want to see more Persona in Death Battle. And P.S. this won't be the only Persona matchup on this list. Just to let you know, but yeah, Makoto versus Tifa is pretty based. Next up, we have Doomsday versus SCP. I think it's 682. Now, before you said, didn't you roast this idea in the last one? Yes, I did. But overall, I did say the idea is cool, and it's two fucking giant monsters fighting. Like, if this happened, this would literally just be me.
Shut up and take my money!
Like, you give me two giant monsters beating the shit out of each other, you have my fucking money, hands down. Like, my only complaint is, like, what is Death Battle gonna pull from? That's just my main concern. Since SCP has so much of continuities and all. But, like, besides that, this fight's fucking awesome. You give me, again, two giant monsters beating the crap out of each other, I'm there. I'm all for it. I'm all for giant kaijus beating the shit out of each other. You have my money right then and there. Next up, we have Devilman versus Etrigan the Demon. Very, very similar to the last one I just talked about.
Shut up and take my money!
You give me two giant demons beating the crap out of each other in the graphic, gory fashion, you have my money. Since hands down this death would be violent. Devilman, very violent. Etrigan has been in some pretty violent DC stuff, like I think it was DC Apocalypse. He had some pretty violent kills, and overall, you could have a pretty violent death in this one. Like, you'll probably have him, like, ripping the shred. You could have so much gore in this episode. It would be absolutely peak. The soundtrack would be such a heavy metal rock theme. It would be so cool. Please, I know they might do this, but please do it. Devilman really doesn't have anybody else he could fight. Etrigan's only matchup I know of is, that one dude. I'm blanking on his name. Only thing I think of it for a second. Dark Snyder, that's what it is. I'm thinking of Dark Snyder. And Dark Snyder versus Etrigan's not a good matchup. I heavily prefer Devilman, and that makes so much more sense as a whole. Next up, we have Erza, Scarlet versus Saber. Now, overall, the debate sucks ass, and it's not even a contest. But overall, the connections are fine. The characters are fine overall. I like both Erza and Saber a whole lot. My only gripe is that I know for a fact Death Battle would screw up Saber's scaling and not do the full canon composite. Since if we're being honest, a full canon composite Saber would absolutely smite Erza. Even if you don't, Saber would win. I can guarantee they're going to pull this. Planetary plus Saber with MFTO speeds. With Erza, it's planetary with FTO speeds. So realistically, a full composite Saber gets to like low outer, and Erza's best is like planetary. So we all know they're gonna mess up Saber's scaling, and plus Fate is a real pain in the ass to scale. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to be honest. I know for a fact Death Battle is not gonna get Saber's scaling correctly. But overall, the characterization's fine, the music will be fine. I feel like the good dynamic they would have would balance out the fact that they would mess up the scaling. And I know I'm theorizing all, and again, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to give my prediction on if this fight happens, they're gonna mess up her scaling. I could bet on that. But yeah, overall, the fight's fine. The only gripe I have is like the people who want Erza to win are like the people who say like you have to lowball her and use weaker routes for her to win. I just think that's disingenuous. If you have to use a weaker route of a character to make your character win, it's not a good matchup. But overall, it's fine. It's a solid matchup that I think when it does happen, it's going to be a decent episode. I have faith in them that they're going to do it justice. I really want this episode to turn out good. Since I love both characters, Saber and Erza are phenomenal characters. These two would get along so well, and I really hope they would capture that in the fight. The amount of respect these two would have for each other would be so cool to see.
Tonight.
Next up, we have Noel, and I think it's pronounced Aigis. I don't know. I haven't played Persona 3, so don't rip me the shreds in the comments below. This is what I meant by we should have more BlazBlue characters. We should be bringing in characters like Noel over fucking Ragna again. Because again, BlazBlue has a good roster, and Noel would be one of those characters that would make a good appearance on Death Battle. Again, she would lose since Persona just has overall better scaling. But again, it brings in a new character that's not just a repeat. Also, the fact is, again, Persona music goes hard. All the soundtracks go hard, besides Weiss versus Mitru. I do not like that soundtrack. But again, Joker versus Jono soundtrack sounds good. And this one right here, I think, could go the best. Since BlazBlue also is known, in my opinion, for having pretty damn good music. So these two would go off of each other pretty well. It would be a pretty good dynamic of a fight. They have both, in my opinion, a pretty cool set of abilities. Overall, it would be a good episode and a good way to bring back BlazBlue. That is not Ragna again. Next up, we have Invincible versus Radiant Black. This overall is my preferred for Invincible. It's better than Superboy, Gohan. It's better than Nova. This overall would go so hard. Radiant Black is so underrated. Radiant Black needs so much more love. It is such a good read. And overall, these two would probably have a really interesting dynamic. While Invincible doesn't really have the best capabilities, Radiant Black has a decent amount of hacks that I could really feel like would play off each other really well. And if they ever do Invincible, I really hope it's Radiant Black. Radiant Black is so cool, and he deserves so much more love. Up next, we have Eddie, or I guess Zato 1, versus Relius Clover. Another Guilty Gear and Blaze Blue matchup that I would rather prefer over having Soul Bad Guy or Ragnar return. But again, I've always said that Blaze Blue and Guilty Gear do have a good set of cool characters you could use, and this one perfectly would counteract with one another. If you know both characters, you would know this would actually go pretty well. Now, yes, Eddie probably would absolutely dog walk Relius, since, Eddie scales to multiversal stuff, while Relius Clover really does not scale to, like, universal plus. But overall, it'd be a cool dynamic to see. It has cool fight potential. It would also have overall really cool music. And again, it's another Blaze Blue and Guilty Gear character that is not Ragnar or Soul Bad Guy. Next up, we have Bruno from JoJo's vs. Law. Again, this brings back One Piece, which we have not seen in a hot minute. And we get another JoJo character. Which overall, I feel like this one works for him the best, since I've never really liked Satsuki versus Bruno. I've always thought that was kind of cringe. But overall, I feel like Law over on his ability would work a lot better with Bruno. And also the fact is that this fight is a lot closer than... this fight is overall really close, and you could make an argument for either or winning. And also the fact is, again, it's another JoJo character. I'm not going to complain about having JoJo or One Piece back on Death Battle. But again, I feel like this overall would be Bruno's best choice of a matchup, in my opinion. Next up, we have... Sorry about that, I had the arm for a quick second. But next up, we have Vaas from Far Cry 3 versus Rais from Dying Light. Now, if you played both games, you would know that these two do share a lot of similarities. And also the fact is that, like, you could have both of their armies also in the fighting and help them as well. If we're going off of they're having their armies, then Vaas would absolutely destroy Rais. Since, while Rais is powerful, his team doesn't really have a lot of guns they could pull from. Mostly due to the fact that they don't want to attract like zombies and stuff towards them, so they rely more on melee weapons. While Vaas would definitely have the terms and firepower. In terms of firepower, I don't know why the hell I'm starting right now. Overall, I feel like it would just be a kind of a cool army battle fight that would be kind of interesting to see as a whole. Again, I didn't make this one, so maybe this is biased, but overall, I do feel like this is Vaas's best matchup that he has. Next up, we have Noob Saibot versus the Reaper from Overwatch. I am still surprised they have not done this one yet, and I really hope they get to it soon, because I feel like if they wait any longer, this matchup is just going to become, in my opinion, a little dead. But overall, this should be a very cool gothic fight. We all know the music would be like heavy metal. There's no question the music would be heavy. And their abilities would be really cool to see. The fact that this should be in 3D as well also helps it be more awesome. The fact is that Noob Saibot also wins. Also makes this fight really cool. And it was so funny how everybody was believing that like Reaper was FTL. And then that whole thing got debunked, which was really funny. Like overall, this fight needs to happen. Because it has been, it's been like 4 or 5 years since this fight was, I guess, made, or maybe even longer. But overall, this fight needs to happen. I really hope it happens soon, because, in my opinion, it's starting to kind of lose its magic, at least to me. But overall, it is such a cool idea. Okay, up next, we have Ichigo versus Yusuke. I really want this fight. I love both series. I love Bleach. I love Yu Yu Hakusho. The soundtrack would be cool. The animation potential would be really cool. And also the fact is I really want to see where Death Battle is going to skill Bleach now, since of the massive upskill I got from the anime. And also the fact is I want to see if they've actually corrected their statements they've made about Bleach. And overall, I just really love this fight. I love Yusuke, I love Ichigo. I love a lot of shit about both series. And I low-key feel like you could make this work on so many different levels. It would be such a cool fight to see, and I really hope that they do this and not fucking Gon versus Yusuke. That would suck so bad. Please do Ichigo versus Yusuke. Please. I think we all know the drill at this point.
Shut up and take my money.
Two giant monsters beating the shit out of each other. Peak. I love Bioshock 1 and 2. 3 is alright, I guess. I really want to see Bioshock on Death Battle, and this is by far the best chance of them having it. And there's also a better base thing that Delta wins, since basically he could just literally negate everything Nemesis does. Rockets, you could throw him back with telekinesis, you could freeze him, burn him, electrocute him. It is just such a cool, badass fight. And not to mention, you could have the Rapture involved. It would be so fucking cool to see, and how they would handle the Rapture and how it works. There's so much more cool stuff you could pull off with this fight, and I really, really hope they could do it. Next up, we have Pennywise versus Freddy Krueger. I more like this because I think the music would be cool. I also want to know how they're going to do this fight. Since, are they going to have this take place in the real world, the dream world? It's really weird. Because I don't know if Pennywise could actually dream. That's the problem here. But either way, Pennywise still wins since he gets so much stronger in the novel. Like, I believe he's like outer in the novel. And I don't know, it's just a weird fight to talk about debate-wise. But overall, it's just so cool. It's just such a cool horror-themed fight that you could pull off. This would look so well in 3D. Since I don't feel like sprites would be able to capture it as good as 3D would. The music would be interesting. You could have a bunch of cool little jump scares. You could just overall have so much more fun with this if it's in 3D. The music would be cool. You could nail a creepy atmosphere. Obviously, the setting would be in a sewer probably. You could just have such a cool, unique fight. You could have like Freddy trying to like get under Pennywise's skin and like try to manipulate him, and you could have a cool scene of Pennywise like being scared since like he cannot make Freddy Krueger fear him. I feel like that would be a very cool scene. You could have a really cool like dead light scene. That'd be so cool to see. It'd be a very cool fight to see unfold. And also, I want to know, what are they going to be buying? What are they going to be using for this fight? So to my opinion, I do think Pennywise should win since he has so much more better stats on his side. And I'm using the novels here. If we're talking about movies, then yes, Freddy Krueger would absolutely dog walk Pennywise if it's just movies. But novels, I would lean more towards Pennywise in that fight. Okay, next up, we're going to have Erron Black versus Jesse McCree. Yes, I know, another Overwatch and Mortal Kombat matchup. But I've always wanted a Western-style death battle. And again, we have not had one yet. We've never just had a good old Western shootout fight. What I feel like they're heavily missing out on. Honestly, I prefer this over getting Noob Saibot versus the Reaper. And again, I've always wanted a Western-style fight. Two gunslingers going at it in the Old West. It would go so hard. It would be peak. The music would be awesome. So please, Death Battle, if you're watching, please make this happen. We need a Western-style fight. We really do need one. Next up, we have Pinocchio from Liza P versus the Hunter from Bloodborne. I want this on here strictly because I love Bloodborne. Bloodborne is one of my all-time favorite video games. And of course, I really want him on Death Battle. And the only matchup that, in my opinion, would make sense would be Pinocchio from Liza P. We all know the Doomslayer is fighting Master Chief again. He has the Hunter, I believe, from Monster Hunter. I guess that's fine, but I would mostly heavily prefer Pinocchio. But that's just me. I know he does have some other okay matches. Again, the guy from, I think it's Monster Hunter or Monster Quest or whatever it is. That's also fine, I guess, for the most part. But overall, my preferred would be Pinocchio if I had to pick. And I don't care who the who the Hunter fights. I just want him on Death Battle that isn't the Doomslayer. And the last matchup is the Marquis of Death versus Superboy Prime. This has so much animation potential behind it. It would go so incredibly hard. And I do hope we're going to get Superboy Prime on Death Battle, since I find him more interesting than just doing regular Superboy, since regular Superboy would just be like having Superman on here again. And again, Superboy Prime is so much more interesting to use in versus than just regular Superboy. But again, the music would go hard. This would make such a fucking cool finale. The fact that they could just summon like their evil versions of the Avengers, the Justice League, XYZ. You could have such a destructive fight if this ever happened. It would be so cool to just see these two just like rip the multiverse apart at will. The fact is that, to my knowledge, this should be really debatable. I don't know where they both scale. They probably get around multi-plus. It would be such a cool interaction to see. The fact that you could bring light to these two characters, overall, I feel like could be so much more fun. The banner, I think, would be cool. The music would go hard. The animation would go so hard. You could have it be a mix of like 2D, hand-drawn, 3D. You could have so much cool shit in this fight. You could have them like both rip the multiverse apart with their bare hands. Overall, this would go so incredibly hard if Death Battle would ever do it. And one day, I do hope they do one day. And that is it for the ideas that I actually like on Death Battle. See, guys, I told you I could be positive for once and talk about ideas I like and not go on like 10-minute rants about why I dislike Yang vs. Tifa and all that. If you don't get the joke, it's because in the ideas I didn't like, I went on like a 5-minute rant about Yang vs. Tifa for some odd reason. I don't know why, but, you know. Here's a more positive video about me talking about ideas that I actually want to see. Ideas I actually love. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to see more content like this, let me know in the comments below. Take care. I love you all so much for the support. Take care. Have a great day.